It's one thing to make generic prayers, however sincere, for our community, and it's another thing to target our prayers with spiritual accuracy. Any intercession for a city, a town, or a region is meaningful, but understanding can increase effectiveness in intercession and spiritual warfare. Spiritual mapping is a recently adopted term to describe a new dynamic sphere of Christian ministry that is helping many as they seek to discern and break the real strongholds of the enemy. That is, in Bible terms, our enemy, the adversary, the devil, and the demonic forces of hell he commandeers. In this lesson, Peter Wagner seeks to help us see that spiritual mapping is biblical. This can greatly increase our readiness for prayer and deepen our convictions that we're on solid Bible-based turf as we adopt this means for prayer. I think you'll be especially moved as Dr. Wagner gives examples of how prayer targeted through spiritual mapping has helped spread the gospel in many areas.
Very excited about about this section on spiritual mapping this afternoon, because for one thing, this is, as I mentioned yesterday, some of you didn't hear that, this is the first time I've done this lecture, and it's always a lot of fun for me to do a lecture for the first time. It's not always fun for the people who hear it. So there is a spirit called a harlot, a principality, who dominates nations, who dominates territories, who dominates people groups very, very clearly, to such an extent that she has fornication with kings. I can give you an example of how she does this. Japan, as a nation, is one of the nations of the world which has consciously, openly invited national demonization. And they do this through what's called the Daijosai ceremony, where when a new emperor comes in, and we had a new emperor about 3 or 4 years ago, when a new emperor comes in to power, this Daijosai ceremony takes place, which is a Shinto-based ceremony. And as a part of this ceremony, the emperor goes to this specially chosen, specially built place. I think it cost him, I forget, something like $50 million to put this thing on, to build these places. He eats rice that has been planted and harvested and chosen through witchcraft. And at a certain time that night, the sun goddess visits him in person and has sexual intercourse with the emperor. It's a very, very powerful thing. So the emperor becomes one flesh with the sun goddess. And that's an invitation for the sun goddess to continue to demonize the whole nation. And Japan is under the power of the sun goddess. Their flag indicates that, the land of the rising sun. The whole thing is glorifying the sun goddess. And it's interesting that this new emperor, since the day that he went in and became one flesh with the sun goddess, you ask, is this physical or not? It could be, because there is a certain spiritual phenomenon, spirits of succubus, that's called succubus. There is a documented physical relationship between human beings and demonic beings.